think there are a couple things, particularly in relation to youth and children's ministry, that really, I think, that really are shaping what's going to happen in the next little while with the church. I think one of those things is that people are starting to look contextually at ministry and at faith, and what that means is, although denominations and committees and presbyteries and all that, I guess the institutional church still very much matters. Mm-hmm. People are living out their faith in a much more, in a way that's more grounded in the realities that they find themselves. Mm. And I think what that means for youth and children is that it becomes really difficult to produce resources in the old way that they've been done, and that the way that they're still done now, which what I mean is the big box curriculum that assumes we all agree kids should know that Jesus loves them, kids should know XYZ. Yes. And I think that that needs to shift, so that resources are more about helping people understand their context and lifting ideas from a resource as appropriate, and putting them into their context as they see it fits. Because for a lot of people, we continue to rely on these huge resources, and they aren't really even working for us anymore. Yeah. They may work for our neighbors or the church down the road or every other church in the city, but for people who are reimagining ministry and reimagining faith, what that means is these resources are actually, in some cases, and I've said this in other contexts, these resources are enabling people to work with youth and children using ideas that the community, the broader faith community that they're part of, no longer even really believe or rely on.
Right. So
I think that's one thing.
Yeah. Before you go to another thing, so you're talking about. It sounds like you're talking about relevance. For in other words, I'm going to teach you some doctrine about, some confession of faith, but without it being in the context in which it's being lived out, it just becomes a boring lesson in a classroom, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
That's part of it, and I tend to avoid I tend to avoid using the word relevant, and I feel like the word relevant was a big buzzword for keeping youth ministry and to some degree children's ministry hip and cool and in touch with current pop culture.
Yeah.
And there are books out there that you can buy that take contemporary movies and turn them into object lessons and things like that. And at the end of the day, though, there was no rethinking of the theology or the ideas that are being imparted through those new mediums. Mm-hmm. And I think what's happening now is that people are realizing the message doesn't stay the same as we change the medium. And it shouldn't stay the same.
Right.
And it has to, it is a living message, and living things change and shift over time.
Right.
And particularly because all we as human beings can deal with are our interpretations. And so people are realizing that we need to, pull the nails out of the wall that are holding our interpretations up there.
Yes.
And start to re-explore what our interpretations are and what these messages are that we want to share with children and youth. What are the messages that are worth sharing to children and youth?